Three, two, one. Hello, fellow scholars in the making. I'm Keshav, and I really like the sound of my own voice.
Hey, I'm Malhaar, I'm the funny one.
Hi, I'm Ram and I'm the chosen one.
Hello, I am Sabyasachi and I'm the babysitter.
Bonjour, I'm Arya and I'm like James Franco pretentious.
Hi, I'm Diva and I don't know who I am. So welcome to ThinkALoud, an initiative by me and these amazing bunch of individuals.
So why have we all come together here? It's because we are commonly perplexed by this one repeating phenomena, which is that on almost any given day on social media, you get the wonderful opportunity of coming across 100 people in assorted comment sections, ranging across platforms, and each is filled with yet another consignment of ignorant pricks, boldly stating some really ill-construed opinion or argument. Or it's just a bunch of pseudo-intellectuals merely regurgitating something they saw somewhere that somebody said, without really having any capacity for original thinking. Now, of course, there is a probability that this might just be my observation bias, and I'm blatantly oversimplifying things, committing the same mistake I attributed earlier to these wannabe internet philosophers. But still, the sheer number of examples here makes it so that you can't deny the fact that this is still the vast majority of people online. And this makes you wonder if the internet is not a place for people who like to engage in what now seems like an almost ancient practice of internal analysis and deliberation before stating something. So we have gathered together because we desire to create a voice for people who would like to engage in productive discussion and debate in the limits of acceptable reasonability. We are all people from different walks of life and schools of thought, and we are no different than you. We want to engage in an open, non-hostile, unbiased discussion on just about anything and everything, and we wish to inspire others to follow suit.
As a member of Gen Z, every single one of you have often wondered, is there anything known as right or wrong at all? Or is it all a matter of perspective? This very question leads to a philosophical roller coaster in your mind as you try to process the level at which this statement will question every single decision you and the people around the world have made in the past and are making presently. Feel the upcoming headache? Yep. News of people doing baffling things at the Florida man and information from all over the world literally in front of our eyes. We've started to live a very fast paced life, and slowly, as the world around us changes, the borders of morality are slowly blurring away. Quoting a very famous poem over here, what is this life full of care? We don't even have time to stand and stare. So we at ThinkALoud have created this very podcast to urge you to take a beat and think. Think about the content you view, the people you support, your stand on morality, and various other philosophical aspects of the life that will guide you in the direction it proceeds. And of course, reevaluate your beliefs and see if they are still relevant in this quickly mutating society. Unlike other podcasts, mind you, and other channels that force their opinions down your throat, ThinkALoud will never do that. Our main goal is to present you with thorough, unbiased research paired with various perspectives from different schools of thought, all in the end to keep you well informed and allow you the freedom of coming to your own conclusions.
We ourselves are going to disagree on so many topics. So, how can we really force a particular one on you? This is important because our goal is to have people who, rather than knowing some fact or concept, they understand this process of knowing and thinking.
This reminds me of a story told by Neil Tyson. There was an interview and two guys walked in for the job. The question they were asked was, what was the height of spire on the building that they were in? First guy went ahead and said, since I majored in architecture, I know the heights of all buildings on this campus. His answer was right. However, the second guy didn't know, but he asked for a few minutes, went outside, measured shadows, took the ratios and figured out the answer. And at the end, Neil asked, who would you hire?
One of the other important things that we want to emphasize here is just that how important it is to do your mental homework and speak your mind. It is equally important to be receptive, to listen, learn, and allow others to speak as well.
Our effort is to create a discussion so riveting that we keep you hooked to the very end and just have you keep coming for it again.
All right, that's enough of the boring banter. As the fun one, I'm gonna bring you the perspective you desperately crave. Because I don't give a shit about formalities unlike these assholes.
Okay, really? You think you're the cool one, huh? Let me just ask you this, okay? You claim yourself to be fun and cool, but what does that even mean? Because this is such a relative term that would change a lot as you shift from the setting and context. So, what is something that is cool or not?
Okay, see what happened here? This is exactly what we mean when we are talking about developing this habit of processing and thinking.
Exactly, that's the beauty of it. But Keshav, here's what I think. What is cool and basic is function of culture and peer. For example, we have seen trend jackers, hype beasts, and culture vultures.
Wow, damn. Okay, that's a stretch there, Arya. Way to go. People are attempting to slyly steer this conversation towards our pre-decided topic of entertainment media here. It has had ended up being not so subtle, but thanks for the segue, Arya.
Poser. It's blatantly obvious that everything we are saying is scripted. Why don't you guys take a break from dissing each other so we can see what has been cool and basic through the eras? Starting with modern human. In ancient Europe, Neanderthal got turned listening to music from instruments like bone flutes and percussions. Rest of the world had beating drums, sex and all was cool. Pretty much everyone used to get high, but the OG influencers were magicians. People brought into it, they were praised and passionately followed, and maybe became living god.
Yeah, it's figured that that is something that they would have done then, but thing they would have done, for example, in ancient Greece, one of those periods.
Patience. There is more interesting stuff happening. We had Hebrew chants, Samaveda was written, Chinese guys came up with a lot of fancy instruments like alligator drums that praised their respective gods. Pretty much the actual hype was to create a cult or religion and score a mass following. Then we come to ancient Greek and Roman Empire. They encouraged original and critical thinking, so philosophy and bureaucracy was pretty much the only way to be part of the game.
So can we go back in time and we'll be the coolest kids in town? Getting all the girls and everything? Let's invent a time machine, guys. Sounds fun.
Yeah, let's invent a time machine so we can pick up girls.
Not just any girls, okay? Ancient Greek girls.
Greek chicks, yeah. We
Like your
probably
way
have
of
to.
thinking, Malhar.
Sabya, don't cheat on Keshav already.
Wow.
Oh god.
Well, I mean, I also think there were plays back then, so ancient Greece had plays, and I think that basically continued into the medieval era with Shakespeare as well, who was the most popular playwright. What else in ancient Greece? I think,
Artists scored none in ancient Greek.
yeah, it wasn't cool, but that is like one of the forms of entertainment, right?
They had no influence, no power, and no stake.
Yeah, it wasn't until the medieval century, I think, until it became much more popular.
Just to even things out, though, they were exemplary art theorists. The basic 12 tone tuning system in music, created by Pythagoras, is still used today.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes, fun fact. Romans were no nonsense community. They valued real world skills. Nonetheless, they were skilled artists, but money and influence was ultimate focus. They focused on economy, business, and army. So if you were on top of food chain, you are winning. Now around 0 BC, Christianity became a big thing. There were mass amounts of hymns written and choirs sang, praising the Lord. Although being kind and forgiven was norm, British people didn't keep up with this standard.
What do you think would have been the coolest thing for a Christian person in that time?
Ironically, not having sex.
Let's not go off topic. I have a question though.
Okay.
Like, when we think about African history and how much of it has not been properly documented,
Yeah.
can we all agree that there is a high possibility that maybe Africans came up with the first songs because they have traditions of dancing and beats and music which date back to thousands of years, but because there's no recorded evidence, it's not considered as authentic.
The first humans have come from Africa, so humans everywhere are doing that. I think it probably shared the common origin there and probably started there. So
Most probably, but if it's not documented, it doesn't paint a picture and shares no data. Plus, there was no actual skill or effort involved in learning or presenting it.
So your perspective is on studied and documented music.
is this the kind of propaganda that European musicians have started spreading against Africans? Ooh. Okay, let's not go there. Yeah, let's avoid.
PG-13, guys.
Yeah, let's
PG-13.
avoid. No, not even PG-13. That's a very, very controversial topic. I mean, we want to take it lighthearted for the first episode.
I think
that music was always something that was expressed from the very soul person. It does not have to be studied as such. If something that is entertaining you comes from very within you, from the very depths of you, even if it's only a series of rhythms that the rhythm or any sort of beat that is kept on being repeating constantly, I suppose it's still an entertainment factor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even when you think about India, like the Garba and a couple of other dances as well that happen here, they're very repetitive in nature, and it's just for enjoyment or in festivals and stuff. And it doesn't need to be documented, but it's still entertainment at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
To the people.
Well, I think when we're on entertainment, music, of course, it's one of the important mediums of entertainment, but entertainment didn't really transcend and become into what it is today until the introduction of the visual medium. And I think we'll attribute that, at least in the mainstream level, I think it's the early 20th century where you had motion picture.
I think theaters were more influential visual media, becoming the behemoth they were in medieval era, and the influence was uncanny. Even in early 20th century, nothing original was written for most part. For instance, the first Bollywood movie was Raja Harishchandra, which was straight up a play.
So there was a making of the first movie called Harish Chandra Ki Factory. I don't know if anyone over here has seen that. So that movie is basically about how they made that first Bollywood movie ever. It's a very interesting look, if you guys want to check it out.
We'll try to put a link for that below in the description. Well, here's what I think though, so if you see the amount of change that happened before, say, the 18th century, and not just in entertainment, in any different medium, we usually see that change was not as rapid. And if you gather all of the changes that have happened up to that point in time, and you compare it with the changes that have happened since the turn of 1900, and just in that small period, you have so many different eras. And in every era, with black and white without sound, then the addition of sound, then you have technicolor, then you have different forms of color, then you have start of practical effects being used, and you have monumental films like 2001 A Space Odyssey, then you have Star Wars, and obviously all of this made so many changes, and they've kept on redefining film. Then obviously there was the introduction of television as well. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
There was no rapid change in subjectivity, even though the medium was constantly changing. For instance, 2001 Space Odyssey was based on short stories written 20 years before the movie. Obviously, the content didn't remain unaffected by the medium, but still it wasn't pacing as fast as one may think.
And if you look at it the other way around, back in the 17th century when Shakespeare made his plays, now his plays are considered as literature. So in a way, movies and plays and entertainment has affected literature as well as literature has affected entertainment.
It's all about which point in time you're taking a look at it. I think just because of the transformation of the medium or the format, doesn't that affect the type of content that happens? Because if you look at the content that we're viewing today in the modern era with YouTube, so we have a 20-minute format now, and that actually began with, I think, television, the 20-minute or the 1 hour format. So instead of having longer movies, you have this, and 20-minute videos are a new thing on YouTube. Before that it was 1 minute shorts, and there was Vine and so many different things. So the format absolutely does affect the type of content, don't you think so?
Absolutely, man. I mean, with YouTube and Netflix, does anyone even here own a cable connection for TV?
Nah, I mean, I haven't owned one in probably 5 years now.
7 years
And
for
with
me.
wow, 7 years?
7 years. To all our listeners, in case you guys missed it, a little while ago we had a bit of a conflict in idea when it came to music and how music can be defined. So if you guys can please put your ideas in the comments below, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, but try to make them original and well construed and well thought out ideas, so we'll have even more fun.
You know what my Netflix viewing experience is nowadays? I treat Netflix the same way like I treat my girlfriend. It's 20 minutes of foreplay followed by nothing. I will scroll Netflix for 20 minutes to find that perfect show, and when I'm not satisfied, I'm just gonna go to YouTube and watch whatever the fuck is in my recommendations, right?
Yeah, you can't commit to anything, huh, Malhaar?
Okay, sure. You have no idea.
So, has entertainment improved over the years or turned out for the worse? What do you think? If entertainment has changed so much, is it for the better?
I feel like the quality in entertainment has dropped, and they're just increasing the quantity of entertainment that's out there.
Now, for instance, Bach wrote 1,000 cantatas, Vivaldi wrote 100 concertos. Only best things cut it to mainstream and turn into cult classics.
That is such a profound thing to actually consider, because historically, we all have this thing where we look into history and say, things were so better at that time. We consider, hey, what would probably have been the best time to live in, or it would have been the 60s, would have been this. And there's some people who think, probably because of all the technological innovations, the best time to live in is actually right now in human history. I think I heard this on a Shapiro show, and I think that notion does have some sort of validity to it, or you can consider it, because only the best things from history survive. You look at the architecture, the houses that weren't as good, they don't survive. So you only look at the good houses, the well-made ones. You think, oh, look at this house, it survived so long, it's so well made, blah blah blah. But that's the point. The houses that did not survive, that weren't worth surviving, they did not survive. And which is why you have observation bias right there. Don't you think so, Mullah?
I feel like, my whole point of view, I'm gonna reply to Arya, is that if Beethoven had Instagram and Twitter and Spotify and YouTube, I would rather be listening to Beethoven all the time than, say, Dinchak Puja and shit like that on YouTube.
But
So maybe it's not just about history affecting what's good and what's not, and maybe it's about the time that's going through and the whole internet boom that's happening.
no, but just look at this, okay? So you are comparing Beethoven, who is probably one of the greatest composers of all time, and you're comparing him with some of the worst composers of our era. So it's not a fair
Can you
comparison,
really
right?
call Dinchak Puja a composer?
No, a musician. Can we even call that a musician? I don't know. I mean, it's
See, but the thing is,
Yeah.
YouTube is not going to be biased to people, right? It doesn't matter if you're the worst musician in the world or you're the best musician in the world. At the end of the day, it's about clout and it's about who is famous and who's not.
okay. Now we have a question. What do you think? If something is famous, is that not necessarily good, or is something good because it's famous? What do you think? So you're saying that good and being popular is different things?
Yes. Now let's look at Dinchak Puja. She got around 40. No, not. I don't know. She got millions of views on her YouTube videos.
I think they were done for like the meme, or ironically. I don't think that.
Right, but it
Yeah.
was still popular. But then it wasn't good, right?
Yeah.
So just because it was popular doesn't mean that it was good, right?
Yeah.
So would you say this is a function of the coming of the internet, so that more people can get their stuff out there, so it kind of dilutes the quality of entertainment?
I feel like it's not much about that. It's also about, what if there's a Beethoven among us and we haven't discovered him because of all the bullshit out there.
Yeah,
Just with
could
all
be the
the
case.
information pollution that's out there, so the real diamonds, they get lost in the rough. Yeah, I think there might actually be some truth to that, but we have to consider, if you're talking about this, that what makes something good or bad, because is there some kind of degree of objectivity? If people are listening to Dhinchak Puja and they like Dhinchak Puja, I'm not one of those people. I'm not endorsing Dhinchak Puja. Uh, how about we take someone other than Dhinchak Puja? Someone, I don't know, Cardi B. Is that a better example?
Not really.
Is it better though? Is it better?
Okay, Cardi B fans, please don't come after me. But anyways, so you have Cardi B. People like to listen to Cardi B. Some people like to listen to Cardi B, and they like that music. Now you have an opinion that is not good music, but they don't consider it that way. So who is
So
right?
just because I don't like Cardi B doesn't mean that I'm gonna hate her, right? She's not done anything to me. All I have to do is not listen to her music.
no, you won't hate her, but obviously you're making the point that it's not good music, and because of that bad music that's out there, the good music or the good musician, they don't get discovered.
So just like how every two people in the entire world cannot be the same, their upbringing isn't the same, the way they have developed their taste for music isn't the same. I feel like there's a lot of objectivity in it, and I respect people's opinions on whatever music they like because that's their point of view and that's their opinion. Maybe they find it relatable. And who are we to say that they're wrong? Unless we're Beethoven.
Okay, say if someone comes to you and says that, hey, Beethoven's music is shit. What points can you make to them to tell them that, it's actually not shit? It's very beautiful, and the artistic complexity and detail. What would you say to them?
It's actually happened to me while at a party where I was playing Beethoven, and everyone is like, "What the hell are you playing, you dumb piece of shit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna change the song because, I mean, it's again for people's opinions and shit.
Yeah, okay, so
Actually, completely
Someone
agree
doesn't
with
like it.
Malhar.
I'm not going to force. Sorry, Sabya.
Oh, no, it's okay. I actually completely agree with Malhar. If you remember Keshav about our argument earlier when it
Yeah.
comes to Pink Floyd,
yeah.
respect people's opinions, Keshav.
Okay, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Pink Floyd is amazing,
Yeah.
and no one can change their opinion. But
Now this is the difference between Malhar and me. Malhar is like, he said it himself. He doesn't give a shit. I would actually try and waste my energy there into convincing you that it's good, because that's the person I am. So again, this is one of the kind of differences that you have when it comes to sharing your opinion outside, which is also something that we are looking into with this podcast. Anyways, coming back to topic,
no, wait. I
Yeah.
want to add one more point.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're talking about forcing your opinions or trying to tell people about your opinions, maybe a good way to go about it is to tell them to give that song one listen. And after that one listen, it's up to them if they want to keep listening to that song or if they keep liking it or if they don't like that genre.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good method. Give them a little taste of it with the tongue. That's how you get people hooked onto drugs. Give them a little bit of taste. Yeah, I think that idea has some sense to it. Coming back to topic, of course, we all understand that entertainment is subjective, no doubt. But say we want to see if it's possible that there is some degree of objectivity in the middle of that, because I always get this example of beauty. We always say that beauty is subjective, right? But if you take a person, okay, or you take a painting, or you take something which is beautiful, there is some degree of objective or some intrinsic qualities in that which makes that particular thing beautiful to the way the human brain functions. So the human brain at large, it perceives it as good or beautiful, and there are
I
things
will
like
disagree with you on that.
you will. Okay, what do you
Okay,
have to
let's
say?
look at Mona Lisa. Without argument, the most popular painting in the world. Everyone has heard
Yeah,
the
it's
name.
famous, absolutely.
And one of the reasons why it's famous is because, not because Mona Lisa is beautiful, because Mona Lisa depicts a normal person living a normal life in one of the craziest continents in the world back then. And because people could relate to it, I feel like that's why they were able to appreciate that art so much.
No, I mean, Mona Lisa was famous because of the history behind it, because it was stolen at a point of time and then it was restored by Napoleon. The history behind Mona Lisa, it is what made Mona Lisa famous. It wasn't because it was relatable. The thing about art is, even though it's subjective, it can be judged upon the basis of its techniques, like how technical a painting is. Even though it might not be that great, it can be judged upon technical basis.
So, Diva, can
yeah.
you go more into detail about it and tell us what makes art good or bad?
Being an artist myself, and I love art in general. I love the form in which you can express yourself, be it in any way: audio, visuals, drawing, speaking, writing. And in art in general, you cannot specify something being good or bad. The main reason why we focus on the technicalities of art on the basis of judging if it's good is because of the Western influence of mathematics or symmetry into art. In Eastern Asia, India, Japan, people had a very free form of art in which symmetry wasn't that valued upon. Later on, India was influenced by different, in this like these institutes like the Arabs and the Chinese people, due to which we had the system of systematic and symmetrical influences in art.
Okay, so do we get into art right now, because that's a vast topic and
It is a very
we can
vast
cover a
topic.
lot over there. So maybe we should get back to entertainment and
No, we can just take that same thing that she said there about how from an artist angle you perceive to find some kind of objective basis for what's good and bad. That's the effort and technical perfection that has been achieved in the production quality. And for the artist, the director, the actor who has created the entertainment that we're watching, I think that would be a good metric of how good something is, just based on the technical perfection that has been achieved. How much talent, sweat, blood, hard work you're putting into making that thing. I think, you can match it there.
I mean, that's the basis for judging many award shows, right? Like, let the Oscars or Tonys or film or other industries which esteemed prizes for giving out for stuff like films. They judge on basis of technicality and popularity of the show, along with like serious lobbying to promote the piece of art itself.
Absolutely. So, for example, a shot. You have school for cinematography. Why is that so? Because there are certain things that you can do which improve it. You have schools for learning acting. How are you able to teach something that's completely subjective? There has to be some degree of objectivity inside that subjectivity, which makes something qualitatively good or bad. That is all I'm saying.
See, no. What you're saying, subjectivity is different, objectivity is different, technicalities of something is completely different. Like, let's take a very simple example, okay? Say you're learning a language.
Okay.
You can go on writing a book after you learn the basics of a language, or the
Yeah.
grammar, the punctuation, the
Yeah.
format of it. After
Yeah.
that, you can go on writing a book like Shakespeare, which makes no fucking sense to people who are reading it. You need to know the basics for doing something extravagant, which might be subjectively appreciated or not appreciated.
Okay. I think probably what makes something good or bad based on like the appreciation thing. If you consider appreciation, what do you get appreciation from? I would think it's the emotional enjoyment and the intensity of it that you derive from watching a particular thing. So if I'm watching something, I'm not saying only just the good emotions. Sometimes we might want to experience horror. Might want to experience fear. We might want to experience grief or sadness through a movie. But just any kind of desirable emotional intensity that you get from a particular movie, I think, the more strong emotions that you can get from that, complexity of them, because there are the 6 basic emotions, and then you have the mixtures of emotions. So, when you're actually confused about, the abstract emotions, I think when you have experienced something like that, then it's better objectively, is what I would say. Something that requires a certain amount of cognitive reasoning to be able to process a movie like that.
See, that again jots down to what you personally prefer, right? It wouldn't be used as an economic tool to judge upon what's good or what's bad. It will ultimately jot down to the more advertising and the lobbying aspects of it. Your liking to a movie is going to be to you itself. Someone else might not like it. Like, unlike you, I would not really debate. I'd just be quiet and accept the fact and move on.
So, because for a consumer, the economics of how much money did a certain movie or a show make, that's not really relevant to me in judging whether I want to watch that thing or not.
But you would be reviewed upon, right? So if I tell you that, okay, Keshav, there's this very nice movie which is quite popular, why don't you watch it? It will be on the basis of how much I'm aware about it, how much it's been advertised to me, right? Ultimately.
Okay, so you're suggesting that popularity does in a way influence what is good or bad.
Yes, I mean, due to the new trend in how social media is heavily influencing whatever entertainment we consume these days, the line between the theatrical films and the TV has vanished. And it's gone up to the next phase of streaming wars. Basically, these days, companies, major enterprises, any major entertainment enterprise is performing a D2C trend, which is direct to customer or direct to consumer, which basically means personalization, content fragmentation, partnership, industrialization of whatever we see. So I believe that if I, as a customer, I'm having absolute power over whatever I'm watching or whatever I'm seeing, ultimately satisfies the basic goal of any business. That is satisfaction of customers and earning profits.
But you just said that how much a movie is advertised to me will affect how much I would want to view it. Doesn't that mean popularity does not affect how good or bad a movie is?
It doesn't affect, so that's what I'm saying. So if you're trying to understand what I'm saying, it's not necessary that what's popular is supposed to be good. Like, as Malhar gave the example of Dhinchak Puja, who was initially popularized by Kadiminati and other people who roasted her online. It's not just because she got famous, it doesn't mean she was good.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Indian movies as well, most of the Indian audience looks at these Bollywood movies with over-exaggerated action where one guy's punched and he goes flying. Can you really call that good just because it's popular?
But again, say, there's other stuff to it, right? Like, in the last trial session, someone mentioned for the demographics of a population, the current economic situation, the current...
No, I agree with you completely, Diva. See, a movie is not just about being good or bad. It's about if it satisfies the person watching it or no. And if the shitty action Bollywood movies are satisfying the Indian audience, then who are we to say that it's not something that should exist or it's something that's bad and should be gone?
Think about our era is that the internet has reached too far too soon. And we are already in a stage where we can't really categorize as something being good or bad because be it good or bad, it's been advertised to us on many platforms, be it social media, be it news channels, be it cable TV or be it streaming platforms.
Also, just an FYI, we are not sponsored by Netflix. But Netflix, if you want to sponsor us, we need better microphones and everything. It's obvious.
Oh
Open
yeah,
it, please.
absolutely. So it's all for the viewers, you know. All right. Here's the take I have on this. Okay. Now, for me, the thing that Diva was saying about how much how much economic generating capacity a certain entertainment product has is from the angle of mostly a producer, and I feel like from the angle of an artist, the technical perfection that has been achieved is one of the factors. And I feel the amount of satisfaction through the emotional intensity that you get is from the angle of the consumer. So which of these? So these are three completely different looks at trying to find something that is better or worse.
A movie is good or bad is based on the opinion of how we are trying to view it. And like Keshav said, it's about these three different opinions and these three different objectivity criteria.
We've said it, but you know, we keep making a paradox there. We say that just because something is popular does not mean it's good, but we also say that just because something is becoming more popular, it'll be more recommended, more people will watch it, obviously more people will derive emotion from it. So it does become one of the better ones, or it does come in the good ones there. But when I think about it, I think about stuff like TikTok. You know, TikTok is insanely popular, but a lot of people talk about it with a lot of cringe and hate and just intense burning desire to obliterate everything about TikTok.
I mean, that's the thing, right? The digitalization of media industry have been driven by a consumer, like a changing consumer behavior. Their expectations, especially among our generation, the demand of content we want is easy to access and instantly changing from one genre to another. And that's the funny thing, right? Because of this new consumer behavior and expectations, there is a raise in the amateur content creation, which includes people like us.
I also feel like because of our attention spans in general decreasing and how readily we want content available, TikTok provides a platform where we can watch a 10-second to a 1-minute video and move on to the next video without thinking too much about the previous one. And this is something that's been a major shift in entertainment where we went from watching TV shows that were 8 seasons long to watching 10-second reels and TikToks.
I think like maybe that's also one of the reasons, like Mala, you mentioned it earlier as a sort of a joke, that you browse Netflix to find a show that you would like, and there's so many options. Which one is good? Which one should I be watching? Then even after you pick out something, I think one of the reasons why you don't want to start watching it is because you start watching it, you have to make an opportunity cost that you cannot watch some other show. So you just end up having something quick and fast, something that you don't have to think about, something that doesn't require any sort of commitment to it, any sort of time commitment.
Yes, I mean, when it comes to TikToks and Reels, it's completely random. You don't choose the reel you watch. Sorry about that. You don't choose the reels you watch. It's completely in a random order that comes as you scroll and scroll and scroll. And that scrolling motion kind of becomes an addiction where you try to find something better and better and better. And that gives more views in TikTok and Reels more than YouTube nowadays.
So we have become so addicted to that constant hit of dopamine that humans have just stopped caring whether something is objectively good or bad. They just want content all the time.
No matter how repetitive and plagiarized it may be.
But I feel like
Yeah.
it's ruining other content websites as well. Like one of my friends used to make anime music videos, and he was really good at that. And he shifted to TikTok because he was not getting enough views on YouTube, while he would get 10, 20 times more views on TikTok just because of that.
And that's the thing, right? Producer behavior is depending upon how consumers consume whatever they're watching and seeing. And ultimately, the artist will have to shift to a platform wherein they actually are valued upon.
And that's why all the brand endorsers are also moving to TikTok. And because YouTube is getting less ad revenue, they've been adding more ads in the video. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, I have noticed this thing about YouTube recently. I mean, not personally because I have got the premium subscription, but I have heard about it a lot.
Look at you flexing your YouTube premium.
Dude, you're leeching YouTube premium off of me. You don't have any authority to speak right now.
Yeah, Ram is smarter than you. No one should be paying for YouTube Premium. If you're getting it for free, good for you.
Exactly.
Even I'm not paying for my YouTube Premium.
It's felt if we compare Netflix with the earlier times, the TV shows in the earlier days, we can always find that when it comes to time consumption and stuff, let's take for Netflix. It has given complete control of how many episodes you want to watch at one single time, all over to the consumers, right? So now the consumer will sit down, they will binge watch it, and they will. It is this binge watching as a whole. It has slowly, started to erode any kind of social life that a person will have. It's like slowly reducing people to become couch potatoes. It's something that I've been noticing since a few days, and since a few years, in fact. And I always felt that every single episode of the ones that we used to watch on TV, that used to be only for a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And scientifically speaking, when we get those little microdoses of dopamine every time we view TikTok or Reel, our brain's capacity for nicotine and its impact decreases over time. And we need more nicotine to feel the same happiness. And I feel like back then, when we had to wait 1 week for an episode of TV, we used to be so excited, and that was our only source of entertainment back then. I used to enjoy entertainment way much more back then.
Exactly, and it also allows you to go out, socialize as well, and time your life as well. And so I suppose the point I'm trying to make over here is that entertainment nowadays is slowly trying to encroach and acting as a parasite on every single other part of our life and the things we do.
Okay, Boomer.
Eventually.
But YouTube recently it has come under a lot of fire, especially with even surrounding the censorship. They feel that it's a lot of power for a corporate to be able to say, what can be used or not, because PewDiePie's video Coco, it got removed. And what do you guys think about that then?
I feel like it just, at the end of the day, Indian agenda, because PewDiePie had issues with the Indian entertainment industry, and some really higher ups in the entertainment industry. They got the government and the everything to ban his video from India.
No, that's for like bitch
Oh yeah, that's his
lasagna.
music video. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think for Coco maybe because the whole cancel culture and everything.
Hmm.
Plus, YouTube is stupid.
Actually, I think it became trending on YouTube Kids, and that's why they had to do this to kind of save
What?
face.
YouTube
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, Coco. It became trending on YouTube Kids. Kids were
I
able
think
to see it.
YouTube messed. I think YouTube messed up, and then they tried to correct their mistake by blaming it on PewDiePie.
Exactly, exactly. And so
I mean, it
that's
should
what
not
it.
have gone in the YouTube kids section anyways in the first place, right?
Maybe it's also possible that so like when I was uploading some of our videos right now, they had a specific sort of checkbox to ask whether this video is made for kids or not. I don't know if they've added it later or if they had it before, but if PewDiePie checked the box that says that this video is for kids, then it's probable that it got into YouTube Kids.
But I mean, PewDiePie is such a big YouTuber. I don't think he would make some small mistake like this when he does
Obviously,
something like this on a daily basis. And
yeah,
if he knew that a small mistake like this could cost him, he would never take the risk.
yeah. I mean, he
He
does
has two
bold
editors for
things.
fuck's sake.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he would have done that on purpose. Like, he's a bit rough around the edges. He has all these memes and things, but at the end of the day, he's it's a profession for him, and he has to do it in a professional manner. So of course, he's not going to mess it up like that. But what's your whole thought about this censorship issue as a whole? Like, even in India with the latest censorship laws. So this is such a big issue for me because personally I feel that for people above a certain age, you don't need another person to be telling you what you should be watching or what you cannot be watching.
Oh, Keshav, are you angry that they banned your porn?
Only that's only part of the issue. But
Are you sure
also,
about that?
I want my HBO, you know.
Uh-huh.
No, but to keep it PG-13 and actually to have a conversation about it, what are your thoughts about the whole issue? Because censorship, it doesn't just limit to certain things which may be considered not in public interest or culturally wrong, but there are certain things which are, like you would say, of a different political opinion. So there could be censorship with political interest behind it as well.
Agreed, completely agree with you.
I've always felt myself that censorship as a whole should have always been limited to only for content that is meant to be viewed by adults and meant to be viewed by children. And while the Indian law does state that the Right to Information Act and everything like that, it does state that it kind of nullifies the entire need for censorship as a whole. But
And and in
yeah,
the
Malhar,
latest amendment as well, like they're increasing viewing age from 18 to 21. Have you guys heard about that?
that is some bullshit.
Yeah, I
Shouldn't
mean,
it go the other way around? Like, shouldn't they decrease the age since our society is maturing
Yeah,
more
because our
than it
society
was?
is maturing and Modi government. Okay, never mind. Can you edit
Let's
that out,
not get
Keshav?
into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, because the government is advancing and Indian society is very conservative. I feel like the conservatives are feeling like there's too much of a change too fast, and they're trying to implement these laws to kind of move towards a more conservative agenda.
I mean, they should realize the effect of the forbidden apple over here. I mean, it's such a common sense thing, right? If you restrict something, they are bound to go right at it. It's the same thing for the uh, use of narcotics and everything like that, right?
Yes, but I think it's also about the fact that because YouTube is such a big platform and people can see these videos anytime, if these were not censored. If these were censored, we have to find different ways of viewing them, and that's an extra effort. And
The reach obviously
people like us
decreases.
might do it. People like us might do it, but not everyone does something like that, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Because you
I mean, I
make it
don't
more
even think
difficult.
most Indians know what a VPN is.
They might know it, but they they're too sleazy, let's be honest, to actually think it's worth purchasing. Indians are already quite far behind in terms of
Wait, do
paying
you
for.
purchase your VPN?
That's a sad Keshav.
Well, if you want a good VPN, you need to purchase it, right?
No, there's like millions of free, good, really good VPNs out there. Not VPN, if you want to sponsor us, go ahead.
Okay, well, until NordVPN sponsors us, what we want to say that there are lots of good free VPNs out there? I don't think so.
Yeah, like let's say Siphon or Hotspot Shield or even shit, I can't remember the name. But there's multiple other ones that are really good, and with Siphon you have multiple options you can choose from as well, just like NordVPN and shit like that.
Well, I don't pay for VPN. I don't. I have a free VPN, but it's not that good, so I don't use it that
But
often.
don't you all think censorship would incentivize people to come to make that extra effort to watch what is forbidden?
Only if they're
Yeah, but the
aware
thing
about
is,
it.
no, but there's another side to this, right? The government did not publicly announce the censorship. So for some people who get their news through very propagandative TV shows and TV news networks, these things won't even be mentioned. For us who scourge the internet and actually look up shit, we know about these things. So some people out there are completely unaware of this censorship at all and what effects it's having on them. So for them, they're not going to look out and see and search things because they're not even aware about it.
Very true, very true.
Yeah. When I think about censorship, my thoughts are most related to the first question, that does the media, because we see from the producer's angle, the producers want to create media that the consumers would watch. So obviously, it has to be in the cultural and social context, right? But then, if you're talking about censorship, that means that the media people are watching is able to influence them.
I also feel like because so many people are shifting from the traditional Indian entertainment and moving on to more international entertainment by using censorship, these Indian entertainments can actually push forward their movies and their content more than the other content that is getting more popular.
I mean, if you're talking about censorship, so it's very important to understand what censorship actually stands for. I mean, for different people, it might have a different outlook, like given the institution. But in general, censorship is an act of intentionally withholding or blatantly restricting material considered to be sensitive or harmful or objectable. And I believe that if we are imposing censorship, it's basically wrong for the fundamental funds of basically any democracy, which allows free flow of information. If we restrict information or data like this, it will basically put people in a very ignorant state of mind wherein they'll not be aware about the goods and bads of the society right now.
Yeah, but then how many free democracies are there out there? Or true democracies that are out there?
Well, just to play devil's advocate here, don't you think that there is some kind of responsibility on the part of the government or any body to protect the moral and cultural integrity of the society at
But
large?
then again, see, censorship,
But
regulating these laws, like regulating what content should be accessible or non-accessible, would not be a neutral decision because this industry of no, this entire department of censorship is not an independent organization funded by individuals around the world. It is funded by the government, and ultimately they'll have to do whatever the government wants to regulate.
True, true.
If censorship, I'd support censorship if it's done on an unbiased platform. Like, they
Look,
will
again,
not.
at the end of the day, the government is supposed to be our representatives. If we want something censored and the government censors it, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we want to see something and the government still censors it, I feel that's where the censorship goes wrong.
Oh, see,
And
the same thing happens with the police department as well, right? In India, all the police departments of every state doesn't come under an independent jurisdiction. It is the jurisdiction of every state government, right? Due to which there is corruption within the police thing. Similarly, if we have an independent organization for censorship, which is not funded by the government, but by it's like it has its own funds which people can buy and sell, then that platform would be independent and unbiased, due to which whatever they're banning or they're not banning would be neutral. It wouldn't be leaning towards either of the parties.
I don't think
I
that's
think
such
the
a
only
good
way
idea
to get
because
an unbiased, completely unbiased opinion of something is to outsource all these tasks.
well,
I mean,
who would you outsource it to? See, because the access to information that the public has at large, it's such a powerful tool because media, what you're doing there is you're controlling how the minds of an entire nation works. And if you're giving that to, say, the corporate sector, then the corporations are able to control that, and corporate India would be able to do that. And if you're, say, outsourcing it to another country, well, then they have a great degree of influence over our decisions and the minds of the public at large. So I don't think that either of
see,
those are
even if
feasible
we don't,
solutions.
but that's the thing, right? Due to censorship, it basically shapes a person's reality and creates the illusion of the world people are forced to blindly subscribe to.
Yeah, well,
And by
that was
limiting,
also my question. Do you think media is actually able to do that to that extent?
media is already doing that, right? There's nothing new in that. Like, say, for example, the 2021 ka, no, 2020 ka January, mein, there was riots in Delhi. In 2019, there was riots in Muzaffarnagar. And these were all misguided by the media, due to which there was a communal hatred wala situation in both the parties.
Well, now that is news media, but I'm talking about like entertainment media because we were talking specifically about entertainment right now.
Even in entertainment media, look at the YouTube algorithm. The YouTube has control over that algorithm, and that controls what we watch. So indirectly, YouTube has full control about what we watch, what the search results are, and everything.
Well, but if
I mean, to completely find exactly what you're looking for, you will have to search it and find that video and watch it. I
but
really
the
don't
thing
trust my
I'm
YouTube home
asking
feed anymore.
is, uh, does the stuff that you watch for entertainment influence your mindset?
It obviously does. Like, for example, like any media show out there, be it in the news or be it in the entertainment industry, it in general, it ultimately either if not glorifies the concept of something negative or positive, it normalizes it for us.
Well, but
Like for
obviously
us,
when people
let's
are
look at Bollywood movies.
Okay.
So many Bollywood movies based on cops and all show cops going rogue, doing shit their way, not following the rules. And if you look at it realistically, so many cops do that, and it does make a major influence for us where we think it's normal for cops to hit us if you're in the wrong.
And not only that, if we look at the point of where Keshav said that the government has the responsibility to protect what is morally right for us citizens. Well, as a whole, morality is basically right and wrong, right? So right and wrong has been changing throughout the centuries. And what was right in the earlier times when slavery was prevalent, it is not right. It is not correct right now, right? Similarly, what is right and wrong has been radically changing throughout the time we have been spending in this fastly evolving society. And
And
again, as Malhaar stated, like the entertainment and the media thing, it's normalizing things that are supposed to be not that are not supposed to be something that has that any media, anything that we watch right now, in be it on YouTube, be it on Netflix, be it on Amazon Prime, it influences the way our mind works, just as Malhar said. And
imagine if you spend 10
yeah,
hours of your day watching Netflix for an entire year, most of your day is gonna be just everything you've captured from Netflix, and
Also say
that's
Amazon
a
Prime
huge
because
part of
we
your
want
life.
both the sponsorships.
Pardon?
Also say Amazon Prime because, like Sabya said, we want both of them to sponsor us. Either or.
Yeah, sure. Netflix and Amazon are gonna sponsor us. Big dreams, Keshav.
Yes, for
You
humor,
gotta dream big to get somewhere, right?
Malhaar, please continue.
Also, Netflix, if you're listening to this, I know I don't pay net for Netflix, but yeah, please do sponsor us. I wouldn't mind that.
But yeah, go on, Malhar. I was interested in listening to your point.
And yeah, so basically, because we consume so much content now compared to back, say, 15, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, it plays a major influence on us because it's a huge part of our daily lives.
well,
Like
but
the first thing in the morning, what an average person does is open his phone and check his feed, or watch Netflix, or do something or the other.
though, surely we must be applying some degree of, scrutiny or like some sort of filtration over what we're watching, because we often do say that, what is this? This is bullshit. This is bad. This is good, and therefore the things that we watch, we have a semblance of okay, whether we want to accept what we're watching or not. So in the end, wouldn't you say that you're ultimately only accepting things that you find reasonable and you're not actually being influenced by them, but rather you're accepting them? Because how can someone just force a particular opinion or way of thinking upon you if you're accepting it
It's
by
a form
watching
of
it?
it's a form of brainwashing, right? When you look at it on the bigger picture. Supposing you're watching the same type of things that are being completely recommended by Netflix or YouTube for an entire year, like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day, or possibly more, it does kind of subconsciously brainwashes you to kind of get used to it and normalizes it, and even be completely okay with it.
But isn't the whole point of Netflix that you get to choose what you want to see instead of seeing whatever is on?
So that's the
That's
thing,
still
right? The thing about today's influence of consumers over the power of whatever they choose and the vice versa. The consumers are a very powerful tool, and due to these new business models in which every industry is trying to personalize an experience for a customer or a consumer, you can manipulate the user very easily. And if you're able to manipulate your consumer, you basically have a monopoly over whatever industry you're in.
And I mean, if you look at it this way, I mean, there have been many conspiracies when it comes to mental conditioning, right? But yeah, when you look at Netflix, you'll see there's a 99% match, there's a 87% match. So when you look at those shows, you feel like, huh, this will match with my mentality and what I want. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's basically another way of mentally conditioning your consumers to follow and to take up the shows that you want them to. It's slow conditioning and it's very common in everything nowadays.
It's working as well. I said, like, it's not working. It is completely working. It's a working model. And this personalization of our resources around us is somewhat given the industry power over forcing down whatever they want us to see by putting stuff like this is like a minute for you, or oh, this is suiting your tastes.
before we change the topic, let's go back to censorship. YouTube and many other streaming platforms and social media platforms are completely based on the concept of earning ad revenue. And when it comes to ad revenue, many people need very, child-friendly or non-controversial videos and content so that YouTube can publish ads on them. And a major part of why YouTube censors so many things is because they're able to get more ad revenue from it.
Yeah.
Like you all know, YouTube creators only get 50% of the ad revenue that happens on their videos, or maybe it's even less than that. And YouTube keeps the remainder. So by censoring a lot of creators, YouTube kind of controls the things that are there on YouTube so that it can get more ad revenue. And that's the whole point of the whole YouTube algorithm, where they're showing us videos that maybe we may not even like just so they can earn ad revenue. And that's why even clickbait is such a big thing.
And
Oh,
they've
yes,
What do you guys
removed
think
the
about
whole.
clickbait?
Okay, here's the thing about clickbaiting, yeah. Because earlier the thing was if you subscribe to a particular channel, then you get reminders or you get notifications or they show up on your feed. Well, YouTube changed it, I think, around 4 to 5 years back, where even if you subscribe to a particular channel, you don't get shown their videos more often. So then you have to click the notification bell, and if you don't do that, then even if you subscribe to them, that does not mean you will be seeing their videos that often, which basically negates the whole point of a subscription. And therefore, if people want to get views, they need to do it, and because a single person is doing it, everybody else has to do it as well, and that's how the whole thing about having attractive thumbnails and having attractive titles just comes about.
I mean, considering that almost all the ad revenues for like the Google or YouTube fell during the pandemic economic fallout, it makes sense because ultimately YouTube, be it YouTube or any other streaming platform, they're industries who are working on capitalization of their resources.
I mean, if you look at it this way, if you remember, there was a song called Gori to Chocolate. I have no idea what kind of cringy song that was, but it was posted on YouTube, and within about 30 minutes, it became one of the most trending videos on YouTube. Now we can also relate it back to again YouTube getting a lot of ad revenue simply because it was continuously showing it on every recommended list there was, simply because it was getting a lot of ad revenue. So that is one more example of how YouTube is manipulating our content.
Okay, guys, another tip for the millennials and everyone out there. If you're ever shooting a sex tape or anything, play Disney music in the background. That way, if it gets uploaded on porn sites, Disney will take it down. No, it's an actual fact. Trust me.
Pro tip.
There's a lot of shitty people out there who can do a lot of mean stuff, and this is a really good way to work around it.
Malhar, you sound like you have an experience on this.
Well, he's a very knowledgeable person about a lot of things like this.
Shut up. Okay, so let's talk about Bollywood. And like Keshav was saying earlier, sometimes it's about the artist's perspective about how a movie is supposed to be really great and how the direction is amazing and everything has to be perfect, and that's what makes a movie good from an artist's perspective.
Yeah, you were talking about
when it comes
Harish Chandra earlier.
Yeah, and when we were talking about Bollywood, we know how the exaggerated action scenes make it seem very stupid, but since it has a large audience and everything, it still goes on and it's still recognized as something that's good.
I mean, you see over-exaggerated action and unrealistic scenes. They also happen in other platforms, right? For example, anime. Even they have very unrealistic approach to how reality should be. And it's just because everyone has their own fan base, right? So we can't really judge. Well, so what do we conclude here?
That's the point. We don't have a conclusive statement. But there are so many good points that we have talked about here, and it's all food for thought.
Well, I mostly really wanted to show Malhar that he isn't necessarily the cool guy, but I think we went really off topic.
Yes, that gives us something for another episode, right? Well, bye guys. Thank you for joining in, and we would really appreciate your comments and feedback. Until next time, ciao.